Did you see the way he was buried? They literally buried him the next day in a shallow grave and concreted the hell out of him. If you see the kind of concrete that they used to cover this guy in that grave. And do you know the worst part? That's not even the worst part. The worst part is that they broke his neck to fit into a coffin. Today, I'm going to be talking about a very sad event that happened in my country, Nigeria. One of us, a youth, a young man of 27 years, an artist, a rapper, he died. And the events that led to his death is the reason why I am doing this video. Well, if you're Nigerian here, you already know who I'm talking about because it has been trending for the past 1 to 2 weeks. I think it's 1 week. It has been trending for the past 1 week. And it's an issue that has been ongoing and it hasn't reached a point of resolution because a lot is involved. A lot of people are involved. A lot of people are depressed thinking about the events that happened before and after the death of the guy and how it has been handled so far. Well, I am one of those persons who has been mind bogged about this event, and I really feel the need to talk about it. Hence, why I am sharing. We all know the name of the guy. It's Mohbad. Mohbad is an artist. I never actually knew this guy because the truth be told, we will. I have listened to like a lot of his. I've listened to a lot of his music, and I never knew he was the one that sang them for real. And it just bugs my mind how one put in so much effort into his music, into his craft, and it doesn't get to have any recognition for his work. It's really sad because how can I have put I am just imagining that this was me and I put in so much effort into my music and then someone else gets to take the glory, you know? Well, but that is beside the point right now. The circumstance of the guy's death has really caused an uproar in the Nigerian space. If you go on Instagram, you go on Twitter, you go on YouTube, you will be seeing a lot of people talking about Mohbad, talking about, sharing videos, um, sharing music, sharing his music. I think his music topped the chart this week. It just bothers me that a guy with so much prospect went through what he went through as a young man in Nigeria before he died. And this is just one out of a lot of people going through the same things that they are not able to share. Now, we only know about Mohbad because he was a musician. And at some point, he came out and asked for help, but nobody took him serious. In fact, it was tagged as a drug addict who was just talking, and no one took him serious. It's just really sad that we as a people are our own problems, and we tend to put each other in harm's way just because of what we want to gain and what our own personal interest. We shouldn't be in a position where we get to bully each other and intimidate ourselves to the extent of killing each other. It doesn't make sense that you would be so adamant on injuring a fellow human like you to the extent of making his life so miserable that death had to be the end of it. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, there is a particular musician who we all know as Naira Marley. He lives in Nigeria. He was a a former resident of the UK, had so many criminal records. He himself admitted that he had a lot of criminal issues, where he was arrested for like about 174 times, according to what it said, um, in the UK, before he finally relocated back to Nigeria. And of course, we as youths took him as a hero. We started trying to emulate his ways, even though they were as rascally as anything else. At the time when he was still trending with his music, you know, he came up with this very toutish and very rugged way of seeing life, which a lot of us embraced, myself excluded. But I had to like fall into the pressure at some point because it was acceptable by the society. So who am I? In as much as I try not to be pressured into things that I do not believe in, sometimes you just get to be influenced by social media and the society at large to accept some certain things that you cannot change. So he came in that time, everybody were claiming to be Malians. We were all trying to fit into the narrative and the stereotype of being Malians. And, it was all the opposite of common sense, or the opposite of what morals we should be standing for. But yeah, because of the zeal and the trend of it at that point, we accepted this guy so much that we never even thought about the repercussion to the future. I, for one, thought that Naira Marley had been in the background because he has not been releasing a lot of music. I never knew that he was somewhere forming a gang and influencing innocent, poor youths trying to fit into life, trying to survive into what they are not supposed to be into. You know, I never knew he had actually gone to the extent of forming a gang, you know, and more like a cult, and turning the people around him, or the youth who saw him as a role model, or the artists who come to him to get that fame that a lot of people are looking for, turn them into something else entirely, turn them into psychopaths because he wants them to fit into the narrative that he has created. And it just brings me to the point where I start thinking of the fact that a lot of youths are easily influenced nowadays. We see celebrities on TV and we feel that we need to be like them in order for us to see ourselves as successful, which is not supposed to be. I mean, these people most of the times are relics. They're not even supposed to be people who we call celebrities. But because of the way the world has turned, we really can't portray good deeds these days and trend. You have to be bad in order to be recognized. You have to do terrible things. You have to live a terrible life in order to be recognized. Like, I have seen a lot of times where youths celebrate mediocrity. We celebrate things that don't even make sense. And it just bugs me. Where is this world going to? What is going to be the future? What is the future going to look like in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years? When would justice ever be served? Apart from that, did you see the way he was buried? They literally buried him the next day in a shallow grave and concreted the hell out of him. If you see the kind of concrete that they used to cover this guy in that grave, and do you know the worst part? That's not even the worst part. The worst part is that they broke his neck to fit into a coffin. He died today. They buried him the next day. They buried him in a coffin, and it was a smaller size coffin that they could get. Hmm? They could not get a size. Because they wanted him to fit in the coffin, they broke his neck. So you can imagine burying someone with a broken neck. The guy was not happy alive. And even in death, they gave him no peace. Why? How wicked could he have been? Was he the worst person on earth? Did they kill anybody? The biggest mistake he made was joining the record label that he joined. Why? No one's child should have to go through that. No one deserves. And it just brings me to the point where I have to think about my future as a person, my future as a youth. Because one day we're all going to get to that point where we would all die. We aren't living forever. We don't even know when. What is going to happen after we pass? It's a deep question that I ask myself. And I want you to ask yourself too if you're watching this video. How would your relatives treat you, treat your family, treat your dead body, your corpse? How will they treat you when you die? It is a deep one, a very deep one. And I'm just going to leave you with this. We need to do better as humans. We need to treat each other better as humans. Because we aren't animals. Why? 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 I really do hope that Mohbad is going to get justice because it deserves justice. The situation is dicey, the circumstances dicey. The people involved are powerful with connections all over. And of course, there are a lot of secrets that are in there that some persons might be interested in not letting to get out. I don't know if my English makes sense. But the truth still remains that justice needs to be served. The people involved need to be brought to book because it makes no sense. Apparently, the guy's spirit is not resting because he is pushing people to push things for him. But how can the guy rest when they broke his neck? That's actually traumatized me. Seeing a broken neck in a coffin? Really? Really? Was it that bad? We need to do better, as Nigerians most especially, because we are our own number one enemy. We are our own number one enemy. Later we will start saying the country is bad, this, the government is this, the government did not come from heaven. You are the government. You are the government, and if you are bad, the government is automatically bad because you get to represent us. You get to represent yourselves with your terrible character. Anyways, that brings me to the end of the video. I really hope that Mohbad gets justice. That is my biggest hope. Thank you for listening to the rant. Do have a wonderful day and bye for now.